Good afternoon. In order to provide language access, we will be providing interpretation into Spanish. So I will go ahead and give the announcement in Spanish. Buenas tardes. Esta reunión contará con interpretación simultánea en español. Si usted es bilingüe, no tiene que presionar nada. Si usted no es bilingüe, tendrá que elegir su idioma para escuchar la interpretación. Si está usando una computadora, verá un icono en la parte inferior de su pantalla, a la derecha en forma de globo que dice Interpretación. Haga clic ahí y seleccione Español. Si está usando un iPad o el teléfono, localice el menú de 3 puntos arriba, haga clic en Interpretación de idiomas y elija Español.
Thank you for joining. We will begin promptly at 6:05. Here are some housekeeping items. We're going to wait a few more minutes to allow guests to arrive. Meantime, please visit spcc.edu/transfer-connection for links to the presentation if you would like to follow along or if you lose connectivity.
Comenzaremos en pocos minutos. En 3 o 4 minutos. Gracias. Good afternoon. In order to provide language access, we will be providing interpretation into Spanish. So I will go ahead and give the announcement in Spanish, and then we can begin. Buenas tardes. Esta reunión contará con interpretación simultánea en español. Si usted es bilingüe, no tiene que presionar nada. Si usted no es bilingüe, tendrá que elegir su idioma para escuchar la interpretación. Si está usando una computadora, verá un icono en la parte inferior de la pantalla a la derecha en forma de globo que dice Interpretación. Haga clic ahí y seleccione Español. Si está usando un iPad o tablet o el teléfono, localice el menú de 3 puntos arriba, haga clic en Interpretación de idiomas y elija Español. Gracias.
Good evening and welcome to Transfer Connection 2020. Santa Barbara City College and local partners are hosting the first ever virtual Transfer Connection, a platform to connect local high school students and SBCC's transfer students to California, private, in and out of state colleges and universities. This is night 3 out of 3 event and features navigating through the admission and transfer process. Thank you for joining, and I hope you are all maintaining good health and spirits during these challenging and different times. My name is Raul Aguilera, and I would be from the Scholarship Foundation Santa Barbara, and I'll be the slideshow host manager as well as the student panelist moderator tonight. Before we begin, here are a few housekeeping items. Please visit sbcc.edu/transfer-connection for links to the presentation if you would like to follow along or if you lose connectivity. You can use this website to view admissions information from numerous in and out of state, private, and public colleges and universities. This information, along with all the event presentations, will remain on the website for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year. You can find today's event right here on the screen. During each presentation, guests are able to ask questions and can use the Q&A feature to type in questions that are related to the current presenter. They will answer the questions at the end of their presentation, and there will also be a Q&A at the end for all presenters and panelists. Now, we would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who planned this event for the past few months and made Transfer Connection possible. Santa Barbara City College Enrollment Services and Transfer Center, Santa Barbara Unified School District, Santa Barbara CalSOAP, and the Scholarship Foundation of Santa Barbara. We would also like to thank and share the distinguished guests here tonight: SBCC counselors, staff, and administrators, high school administrators, counselors, and supporting staff, and local community partners. We appreciate your partnership and value your ongoing support. Today's event includes presenters from the California Community College System, the California State University, University of California, private and independent colleges, as well as student panelists. Our first presenter of the evening to present on behalf of the California Community College System is Christy Renteria, Student Success Coordinator from Santa Barbara City College.
Thank you, Raul. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for everyone who put on this event. My name is Christy Renteria, and I work for Santa Barbara City College in our Enrollment Services Department. I myself am a local student. I grew up Santa Barbara Goleta areas. I attended Dos Pueblos High School, graduated from there, and then went to Santa Barbara City College and on to UCSB. Santa Barbara City College was a great choice for me just because I'm a first generation student. I didn't really know where I wanted to go, what my major would be. And tonight we're going to talk to you about Santa Barbara City College and the different programs, support services, and then how you'll get to SBCC should you choose to come here. So today what we're going to cover is what SBCC is, why you should choose SBCC, how you can get to SBCC, and when all of this happens. So what is SBCC? So we are one of 116 California community colleges. When you apply through us, you apply through OpenCCC Apply. Many of our local students might know what OpenCCC Apply is because they applied as dual enrollment students. As a dual enrollment student, you applied, but as a first-time student coming to Santa Barbara City College, you're going to need to apply with us again. And we'll address that a little bit later in the presentation. The great thing about a community college is it serves a diverse population, and it also has many things that you can do academically to achieve your goals. So at California Community Colleges, we offer associate degrees, certificates, and transfer programs. You can do all three. You're not limited to just one, so that's the great thing about coming to a community college, is that if you don't exactly know what you want to do coming in, you can use some of our great support services or academic counseling services or transfer services and really get the support you need to get your academic goal or achieve your academic goal. Also at Santa Barbara City College, we have a non-credit campus, which is our School of Extended Learning. And what this is it's not for college credit, but you can get a lot of different skills there. For example, they have construction technology. You can take classes there free of charge. Also, we have a medical assistant program. So if you feel like you might not be ready to come to SBCC right away, our School of Extended Learning does also offer really great programs and services for students. And on our next slide, why SBCC? So SBCC Promise, right? It is such an amazing program. I'll go a little bit more into depth a little bit later on to talk about our SBCC Promise. But what our SBCC Promise is, it's for our local area students. So any student who graduates from a high school from Gaviota to Carpinteria and between there, and this not includes mainstream schools, but it also includes home schools, private schools. So you just need to graduate from high school within that district and you qualify for an SBCC Promise, which means that your tuition, textbooks, and fees are all covered. Also at SBCC, we have 80+ academic majors. So these are some of our most popular majors here: business, communication, engineering, psychology, and biology. But we have 80+ majors that you can not only get an associate's degree in, but an associate's degree to transfer. Also, Santa Barbara City College has wonderful student support programs. One thing that I made a huge mistake of being a Santa Barbara City College student is I didn't take advantage of any of these programs. One, I was a first-generation student, so I was kind of too shy, maybe a little too prideful, a little too stubborn to go in and seek help. But these programs are really designed for students to help them achieve their academic goals. EOPS is a great program that we have for Santa Barbara City College students. This is for students who may be first-generation students or academically disadvantaged students. One great program in EOPS for our local high school students is the Running Start program. And in the Running Start program, it's a 6-week summer bridge program. So after you graduate from high school, you can come to SBCC in the summer. And it's a 6-week program where you are taking classes, so you're already in that academic environment, and then also meeting other people in your cohort. And every Friday you get to go on a field trip. They've done things like kayaking, hiking, Dodger games, ropes course. And on top of all that, for each of the 6 weeks, you're paid a certain stipend for coming. It's been $100 a week in the past, and that's kind of gone back and forth, but I think the minimum is $100. So not only are you getting a great experience, but you're also getting paid to come to that experience. Our DSPS program, so if you have an IEP or 504, please go to our DSPS program. They'll be able to set you up with accommodations to help you academically succeed at Santa Barbara City College. Our science, technology, engineering, and math program is great for those of you that are in those majors. It's going to give you great support, great academic counseling, and also take you to universities to explore universities and colleges that you could potentially go to. I'll go a little bit more into our study abroad program in our next slide, but Oh, sorry, that was a prompt, sorry about that. For our honors program, these are for students that potentially want to go to those competitive four-year universities. They want a little bit more rigorous coursework. And so if you're really looking at programs at UCLA, UC Berkeley, the honors program would be a great program for you. Transfer Center. So a lot of students think, you know, I'm going to come to Santa Barbara City College, but I don't know if, or I do know that I want to transfer, so I'm going to wait maybe until my last semester. We don't want to make that mistake. So for those of you who are wanting to transfer, you know that's your academic goal coming into SBCC, you're going to want to contact the Transfer Center right away and get those services. They have the Transfer Achievement Program and the Transfer Academy, and all of those programs are going to assist you with applications, with knowing the requirements for transfer, also taking you on field trips to four-year universities, and just getting you to the academic goal of transfer. So make sure that you're checking out the Transfer Center. Our student equity department and food pantry, we have something once a week, and even through this COVID-19 world, where our student equity department does a food distribution, and it's once a week, both when we were on campus and now, and it's a great program that our student equity department has for students. At SBCC, we also have our transfer program, so it's our transfer admission guarantee. So this means that we have agreements with various private colleges and UCs and out-of-state colleges, and this means that you, as long as you have 60 transferable units and the required GPA, that you will get guaranteed admission into that school. Now, this isn't for all schools, it's definitely a select list, but it's a great option. One of the most popular ones we have is with UCSB. UCSB is here today, so they'll provide more information on that, I'm sure. But if transfer is your goal, like I said, you're gonna wanna go into the Transfer Center, check out our tag agreements, and get hooked up with a counselor in the Transfer Center to get that academic goal achieved. Academic counseling. So no matter what school you go to, whether it is a community college, four-year university, I cannot emphasize enough how important academic counseling is. I went to go see an academic counselor probably 1 to 2 times when I was at Santa Barbara City College, and it was a huge mistake. Academic counseling is going to set up student education plans with you to be able to help you achieve that academic goal, so you're not taking classes that are not aligned with your academic goals. So please make sure you check out academic counseling wherever you're going to go, but Santa Barbara City College in particular has wonderful academic counseling services that are going to get you to that academic goal. Also, we have 50 CTE programs. So these are great programs where we have professionals in their field or our prior professionals in the field teaching here. And these are programs like our nursing program, cosmetology, marine diving, culinary arts, and automotive technology. So these programs are really designed for you to go straight, go to Santa Barbara City College, do your academic studies, get a certificate, a degree, and go directly into your field of work. These programs can be anywhere from 1 semester to 2 years, and they're great programs that we offer. Like our nursing lab is our nursing program is one of our most popular programs, and our nursing lab on campus, if you've ever been there, it looks like Cottage Hospital, right? They're very hands-on programs. The one thing we want to mention about our CTE programs is that many of these require a supplemental application. And what that means is that not only are you applying to Santa Barbara City College, like everyone else, you're going to need an additional application to get into that specific program. So if these programs interest you, please make sure that you're contacting us to let us know that you're interested in these so that we can get you those supplemental applications and let you know the application process for these specific CTE programs. And on our next slide, so this is our study abroad. There is an upcoming event on November 19th that the study abroad program would like you to join into. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the study abroad guide into the chat so you guys can all see that. And in that link in there, you can sign up for the study abroad event that they're having on November 19th. This is a great program. This is something that I regret not doing in my at Santa Barbara City College. It's an opportunity to be able to go study in another country, get transfer units, and it's a wonderful opportunity. So I hope that you will join the Study Abroad program for their event on November 19th. You can go ahead and click for more information in the chat. And on the next slide is the SBCC Promise. So as I said previously, the SBCC Promise is through our Santa Barbara City College Foundation. It's privately raised funds. The Santa Barbara City College Foundation believes so much in our students and in our local community that they wanted to create a program to not have any barriers so that everyone could go to school if they wanted to choose to do so. So what the promise is that you're going to be covered for 2 years, textbooks, fees, and tuition. Now there are some requirements that you have to meet. It's not, we like to say, not a no strings attached thing. Students have to hold up their end of the bargain. And I'll go into a little bit more, some myths and also requirements for the Santa Barbara City College Promise. And on the next slide. So our SBCC Promise. So there's a lot of misconceptions about our SBCC Promise. A lot of our local students think, am I automatically signed up for the Promise? No, you have to sign yourself up and opt into the Promise, and you'll do that after you apply to SBCC. So you're not going to be able to sign up for the Promise until you have an application on file with SBCC. Also, a lot of people think I have to pay the money back, right? No, you will not have to pay the money back as long as you meet all requirements to maintain SBCC Promise student status. So what that means is that the Promise has deadlines and requirements that you need to adhere to. If for whatever reason you don't adhere to those requirements, and that usually happens within the first couple weeks of the semester, that means that you're no longer Promise eligible, and then yes, you would be charged for tuition and textbooks because then you are not eligible for the Promise. But if you go through the Santa Barbara City College Promise and meet all requirements, graduate, go on to UCSB, you'll never have to pay that money back. It is like a grant that the Santa Barbara City College Foundation is so generously giving to our community to help our local students have access to education. So on the next slide, I'm going to be talking about eligibility for the Santa Barbara City College Promise. So the first thing is you're going to need to complete your secondary education within the Santa Barbara Community College District. So that's what I said earlier about Gaviota to Carpinteria. You have to graduate from a local high school between Gaviota and Carpinteria. And as I said, this could be a private school, it could be one of our mainstream local high schools, it could be homeschool. And also, it could be adult high school. So if you know anyone that has not yet gotten their high school diploma or GED and wants to pursue that, as long as they do that within our community college district, they will be eligible for the Santa Barbara City College Promise. The next thing is you're going to want to submit your California College Promise Grant, or what we call our CCPG. There are two ways that you can do this. One, through the FAFSA. If you go ahead and submit your FAFSA, which we encourage you to do, that will be your California College Promise Grant within that. And two, it's going to be, you can do the CCPG form through our website. Next, you're going to commit to be a full-time student through the duration of the Santa Barbara City College Promise, so fall and spring semester. So you need to be a full-time student, and that's 12 units. Now, for some of our students, such as our DSPS students, so students who may have an IEP or 504, you may be eligible for reduced unit load, and that goes through our DSPS department, but you are expected to have those 12 units. And then you have to enroll at Santa Barbara City College either the fall or spring term directly out of high school. So that means for our students that are graduating this upcoming 2021 year, in order to take advantage of the Promise, you either have to come in the fall of 2021 or the spring of 2022 in order to be eligible to get that Promise. So you essentially get a gap semester, not a whole gap year. You have to complete a student educational plan, which is part of your steps to enrollment, so you can check that off already. And then once a semester for your duration as a Santa Barbara City College Promise student, you have to meet with an academic counselor, which is such a great part of your academic journey. So it's not really a requirement because you should be doing it anyway, but it is a requirement to get your to keep your eligibility status for the SBCC Promise. And lastly, remain in academic good standing. And what that means is that you have to maintain a 2.0 GPA with your duration of being a Santa Barbara City College Promise student. So now we're going to talk about how do you get to SBCC. So for our local high school students who are seniors now, this will all happen starting in January, and these will be the steps that you will take. So number one, you're going to apply with Santa Barbara City College through our open CCC apply. As I said previously, the important thing to note for our local high school students who have been dual enrollment students is you need to have a current application on file. So the application for fall of 2021 is currently not available and will not be available until January 2021. I know it's a little confusing because with CSUs and UCs you're applying now, but for Santa Barbara City College in particular, that will not be, the application will not be available till January 2021. Step two is pipeline and promise. So you'll establish your pipeline account, and then that's when you'll sign up for the promise. Step three is placement. So a few years ago, we used to do assessment testing for math and English. We no longer do that anymore, which is great for students, and we now call that placement. So we get your placement for math and English based upon information you provide in your application, which is the highest level of math and English you've taken, and your grades, and also your GPA. So you're going to want to make sure that that is accurate. Step four is orientation. You can do this in online. Previously, we did this in person, and I think upcoming in spring, it is going to be a webinar format. Step five is class planning. So this is a very important step because this is really going to get you on a good foot for starting your academic journey. So what class planning is you'll be sitting with an academic counselor and be able to discuss what your academic goal, whether that's transfer, associate's degree, even if it's unknown at the time. And what they're going to do is they're going to help you set up a student education plan to get you to that goal. So you'll be selecting the classes that you need for that academic goal. And then lastly, step six is registration, and you will register for your classes. You'll get to pick from our course selection, and then you'll be registered for Santa Barbara City College. One thing I want to note here for registration and paying for your classes, as Santa Barbara City College Promise students, your balance, as long as you've signed up for the Promise and met all requirements, should always be zero. So if it's not zero, you should be contacting a representative at Santa Barbara City College to figure out what's going on, because that means something may have not gone right with your signing up for the Promise or your application. So for our local SBCC Promise students, we always want to make sure that your balance when you're for paying for classes is always zero. And then the next slide. So when should you be doing all this? So important dates. If you're wanting to sign up for our spring 2021 semester, which begins in January, that is now open. All the steps to enrollment are now available on our website. You can do everything electronically, sign up for class planning, do the application, and do orientation. And our spring semester begins on January 11th, 2021. And then for the fall and summer of 2021, the application will be open in January 2021. And then the dates are listed for our two summer sessions. And then our fall of 2021 semester will begin August 23rd, 2021. So we will be helping our local high school students go through all of this. But just keep in mind that the application is not available now. It will be available in January, so our students will be doing all the steps to enrollment between January and May. And in our next slide, we'll talk about our local high school outreach. So our enrollment services team does a lot of outreach to our local high schools. We do monthly visits with it's our Zoom visits currently with our local high schools, so please connect with your college and career code or go to the website listed here, and it will have all of the dates and information of when we're visiting or doing Zoom sessions for your high school. And then also our enrollment workshops for fall of 2021 will begin in January of 2021. And all of that information is going to be put on that website. So go ahead and either note that down or hover your phone over the QR code, and it'll take you to our website where we have all of our local high school information. And then the next slide. So we just want you to know that you're not alone in this. This is our enrollment services team. We are all so happy to help you and assist you through this process. We understand that it's a lot of steps, it's a lot of information. So please reach out to us at any time. We have so many support services to be able to get you to Santa Barbara City College and then get you through Santa Barbara City College to your academic goal, whether that's associate degree, transfer, or whatever it may be. So please make sure that you're reaching out to us. On the next slide, you'll see that our contact information here. If you have any questions, we have 3 ways you can get in touch with us. Our phone number here along with the hours. Also, we have a live chat where during business hours you can go ahead and chat us and we'll get back to you. And then lastly, email us at info@sbcc.edu if you have any questions, and then we get back to you within 24 hours. And that's all I have. Is there any questions?
All right, yes, Christy, we have a couple questions in the
Okay.
Q&A. So first one, for the SBCC Promise program, does it matter how old you are or when you graduated high school?
So it doesn't matter how old you are, but you do have to have graduated from high school. So the requirements to attend Santa Barbara City College are that you are 18 or older or have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. So if you graduate when you're 16 or 17, as long as you have that high school diploma or GED, you're good with that. And then, yeah, there is a time limit with the Santa Barbara City College Promise, right? So if you graduate, as I said, if you graduate this fall, or I'm sorry, this upcoming year in 2021, you're the senior class of 2021, you have until the fall of 2021 and then the spring of 2022 to sign up. So it's 2 semesters that you have to sign up. So currently with the class of 2020, you would have until the spring of 2021 to sign up in order to take advantage of the promise. And if you don't meet within that time, what you can do, because sometimes students have let that time lapse, and then the Santa Barbara City College Promise does have an appeal process that you can go through. You can go ahead and contact us, either email us, or email would probably be the best way to get a hold of us to help you, direct you to that appeal process if that time lapsed.
Okay, great. And then we have a question about transferring out of Santa Barbara City College. Will you be covering that, or will other presenters be talking about that?
We can see what the question is, and I can either try and answer it or direct it to the other presenters.
It's well, okay. One question is, what do I do if I pass the unit cap policy?
Okay, yeah, so that would probably be a better question for our other presenters.
Okay, and then the other transfer question was just about transferring into Cal State or UC.
Yeah, so I'm sure they're going to cover that in the presentation today.
Okay, and then we have another question about the honors program. Can you spend a minute talking about the honors program?
Yeah, so with the honors program, the best resource is going to be on our website. It is application based, so you do need to apply to the honors program and be accepted. And with the honors program, generally, they're going to need your high school transcripts because they need to see that you have the required GPA. Also, I believe they ask for like a written sample for the honors program. And then what the honors program is, once you're accepted, is it's like a cohort model. So you'll be meeting with the honors program and faculty in cohorts, and then certain classes you'll be taking will be honors based, right? And then the great thing about the honors program is it does give you priority consideration to some of the more competitive UCs.
That's all the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Spencer.
Perfect. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Spencer, for the questions. So now our next presenter will be from the California State University System, Dr. Ginger Regis, CSU Channel Islands Assistant VP for Enrollment Management and Director of Admissions and Records. And then I'd like to remind everybody, we will have some time at the end to ask any questions to our presenters, and then you can always ask them as soon as they're done presenting as well. All right, Ginger, go ahead and take it away.
Perfect, thank you. Well, my name is Ginger Reyes. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Enrollment Management, and we're going to go over the agenda of what we're going to cover in the brief time that I have. My goal is to give you a brief overview of the CSU, looking at our freshman eligibility requirements for those of you who are currently in high school. Raul, can you progress to the next slide, please? And also look at transfer eligibility, talk about something that's called impaction, and looking at the cost and financial aid, and then be able to answer our questions. So to begin with, if you look at the map of the California State University system, we are 23 strong and we vary by various location and size. I like to think of us like Baskin Robbins with 31 flavors of different ice cream, because you want to find the institution that fits you and what you're looking at. We serve over 481,000 students and offer over 300 different disciplines. So if you look at the different degrees that we offer, it can range anywhere from animation, architecture, kinesiology, sports management. The possibilities are endless. And if you look at the next slide, you'll see the different pictures of what some of our students do. And we have a learning by doing philosophy, which means we take what you've learned from our institution and be able to apply it to the real world. And the best example that I can give is if we look at dairy science at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, that teaches students how to make ice cream, and they actually create the ice cream at their institution and be able to sell it to the students and to the general public. So it's a great example of the learning by doing. Northridge and Cal State Los Angeles in their mechanical engineering programs have an example where they've actually built a car. Northridge has actually also built a motorcycle. Now, if you're unsure of what degree you want to study or what institution offers what you're looking for, you can visit this website, degrees.calstate.edu, and enter in the different majors that you're looking for, and then it will, once you hit search, it will show which California State University offers the degree that you want to study. With over 300 different degree programs to pick from, there's quite a bit of California State University campuses to select from. And then when you find the institution you're interested in, you could go ahead and click on Get Started under Apply, and then you can go directly into applying. Now, for the 12th graders that are in the audience or anyone who is in high school, in order for you to be admissible to the California State University system, we're looking at making sure you're a high school graduate or the equivalent. So if you've earned a general education degree, GED, you complete the 15-unit comprehensive A through G pattern that we'll go over briefly, and then you at least earn a minimum 2.5 grade point average. If you have between a 2.0 and a 2.49, then we're going to look at supplemental factors. One of the things that you'll notice within the California State University system is that we no longer require the SAT or ACT for this year. So if you are a senior, you do not need to take the exam, nor do you need to submit those scores. We are not using them in any factor within our admissions requirements. Like I mentioned before, that we look at the 15-unit comprehensive A through G pattern, and if you look at them, you'll see that we want 2 years of social science, 4 years of college preparatory English, 3 years of mathematics, 2 years of laboratory science, 2 years of a language other than English. American Sign Language does count as a language other than English, a year of visual performing arts, and a year's worth of college preparatory electives. An example of an elective would be courses like economics, the additional year of language other than English that you may have taken, or even the additional year of math that you might have decided to take your senior year. We just expect that you complete these courses with a grade of C- or higher, and you'll be hearing from my colleague today from the University of California system, where these subject requirements will also meet the UCs for first-time freshmen. So I mentioned about supplemental factors. So now that the CSU is no longer using SAT or ACT test scores for their admissions, they are using what are called supplemental factors. So we'll go to the next slide, please. Supplemental factors that are used by some of the campus could mean how many courses that you've done above the minimum that's needed for admission. If you're a first-generation college student, if you've participated in different educational programs such as AVID, the Puente Project, MESA, Upward Bound, Or they might also be looking at your extracurricular activities, your leadership positions. Those are some examples of the different supplemental factors that we're looking at it. However, I will stress that a majority of the admissions decisions will be based off of your academic preparation. So we want to make sure that you're striving for those courses. So when you look at the application for the California State University system for first-time freshmen, you will be asked to complete 3 additional questions in the application. So again, we're going to ask if you've been part of any type of educational program participation, how many hours of work that you've had, but also as well as any activities, extracurricular activity time that you've spent or work. And it says that it's 12 months, but it's actually going to be 3 years, in the last 3 years, how many hours you've worked, because we recognize that due to COVID, you might not have had a chance to be able to do your volunteer hours. So that's what we look at for first-time freshmen. If you are currently a transfer student, maybe you're a student at Santa Barbara City College, what we're looking for in terms of admissions is that you complete a minimum of 60 or more semester transferable units. You have a minimum 2.0 grade point average. You're in good standing at the last institution you attended, which means that you're eligible to enroll, and that you complete the following classes with a grade of C- or better, which include what we call the Golden Four, which is oral communications, written communications, critical thinking, or mathematics quantitative reasoning. A good way to look at this is if you've met with your transfer center counselor at Santa Barbara City College and you're following the CSU GE pattern, these courses encompass that. One of the things we want you to become familiar with is the word called impaction. It's when a campus receives too many qualified applications for the number of students that they can offer spaces to. So therefore, they will raise the admission standards. There are 7 CSU campuses, I call them the Super 7, that are impacted at not only the academic level, so whether or not you're a freshman or a transfer, but also that you will compete within the major in order for you to be admissible. And those campuses are listed here: San Luis Obispo, Fullerton, Long Beach, Los Angeles, Fresno, San Diego State, and San Jose State. So those universities are impacted, so they do have competitive admissions. If you want to know about the other institutions and who's impacted, you can visit this website. And I believe you will have a copy of this PowerPoint, so you can be able to look at that. You just go to calstate.edu and just select campus impaction, and it'll allow you to look for the various institution you're thinking of. And you can either select if you're a first-time freshman or a transfer student, and it will tell you what programs at that school are impacted. So that means that when we say impacted, it means that it will require you to go above and beyond what the minimum requirement is. One of the things that the California State University prides itself on is the fact that we offer a high quality education for one of the lowest compared in the nation. So if you look at the cost of the education for the California State University, the national average is at about $12,000 a year. The California State University still remains affordable at about $7,400 per year. And we still have a commitment to our students to also get you to graduate in a timely manner. And for the community college students, those students getting an associate degree in transfer is a way for you to be able to graduate in a timely manner as well. So students who do worry about the cost of education, the CSU does pride itself on the fact that a majority of our students do receive some form of financial aid. So 84% of our students receive some form of financial aid. 59% of students within the CSU paid 0 tuition, as they were able to receive grants and scholarships and money that they never had to pay back. And again, the CSU awarded over $701 million last year in the form of financial aid. The application filing period for the California State University is actually October 1st through December 4th. This year, we wanted to recognize that November 30th fell right after the Thanksgiving holiday. So we decided that we wanted to give you a little bit more time to fill out your application. So for the fall 2021 term, we extended the deadline to December 4th. I cannot guarantee you that this will be the way for the future. However, we do want to make sure that students apply during this initial filing period, and it states on the website there, calstate.edu/apply is where you can go ahead and apply and also learn a little bit more about the various universities. Once you submit your application, here's a rough timeline to expect. October, November is when you apply. You really won't start hearing admissions decisions, particularly from those high demand campuses, roughly until about the end of March. So during that time while you're waiting an admissions decision, we will always encourage you to apply for financial aid. Again, you'll never know what you're going to get. And then May 1st is when we have our national commitment deadline. And then of course, during the summer is when you have advising and orientation as well. So it just gives you a brief timeline of what to expect. And as always, if you have any questions about the California State University system, definitely utilize your transfer center and the counseling center to be able to obtain that information. But then we're also your local university to be able to help you as well. And that's our website as well as our email address there, admissions@csuci.edu, to be able to assist you.
We have a couple questions in the Q&A, Dr. Reyes.
Yes.
First one, I want to transfer to a CSU and get a BA in food science. How will I figure out which programs to apply for? I know each CSU is different and may name them differently.
Absolutely. The first thing I would do is I would go back to that website that I mentioned about degrees.calstate.edu and click on food science. Another word for food science is if you look up nutrition, some actually have it under dietitian, but usually, or kinesiology would be some of the areas as well that would fall under food science. And then from there, of which institution that you would look at is, I would see what it narrows down to for what institutions have that degree that you're looking for, and then researching which one meets the needs that you have. If it's location, class availability, how many students go to that school, how big or popular the program is. Those are some things you want to consider.
Thank you. And then the next question, can you briefly mention what would be a couple differences between the Cal States and the UCs?
I would love to answer that question, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it for the opportunity for our colleagues within the UC to be able to answer that, and then later on when we talk with all the panelists to be able to answer that in general. I think the CSU and the UC are great options for higher education. It's a matter of which one fits you. We each have our own uniqueness to it, so it really comes down to student preference of what they're looking for.
And then last question, in the Cal State application, where do we find the supplemental questions?
Sure, for the first-time freshmen, those 3 questions will actually be embedded already in the actual application itself under, I believe, just additional information that we're looking at.
Thank you, that's it.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Perfect, thank you so much, Dr. Regis. So now we have Adria Bowman, UC Santa Barbara Transfer Admissions Counselor, talking about the University of California system.
Thank you, Raul. Hi, everyone. My name is Adria Bowman. I am a transfer admission counselor at UC Santa Barbara. You might have heard of UCSB. On this slide, you can see contact information for all 9 undergraduate UC campuses. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the University of California is the top tier public university system in California. So similar to the California community colleges and the California state universities, we are a publicly funded system. The University of California is a research system, which means that all of our faculty and professors and many of our students are not only engaged in teaching and learning, but also in research, which is the creation of new knowledge. So that's one difference. That was a great question about the difference between the UCs and the CSUs. And I loved Dr. Reyes's answer that one is not better than the other. They're just a little bit different. So it depends on what you as a student are looking for. Most of the majors at the UC campuses are research-based. So you won't find as many majors like food science, but you'll find majors like sociology and economics that are a little bit more broad in nature. Now, the University of California is created of 9 undergraduate campuses, all of which vary by size and location. And then there are some majors and programs that are available at all of the campuses and some that are only available at 1 or 2 or 3 campuses. Some opportunities and support programs that you can expect to find at any one of the campuses are the opportunity to do undergraduate research, study abroad. So all of the UCs actually share the same study abroad program. So you have the same access to study abroad opportunities no matter which campus you transfer to. You also have the opportunity to participate in UC DC or UC Sacramento, which are residential internship programs in Washington, DC and in Sacramento. Every campus has literally hundreds of student clubs and organizations. So there are lots of opportunities for extracurricular involvement, as well as internship and career support. So many students work part-time while they're students. Many students do internships, and all of the UCs have career services that help students to prepare for life after graduation. And then I don't have as much detail about financial aid and cost of attendance as my colleague at the CSU did, but there is financial aid available at all of the campuses, and you don't have to do any extra application besides the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application, and then the UC application. So just by submitting those, you are automatically considered for all financial aid at all of the campuses. And I do just want to mention one financial aid opportunity, which is the Blue and Gold Opportunity Program, which qualifies all students for free tuition. So grants and scholarships that cover tuition if you make less than $80,000 per year, 80. Less than $80,000 per year, you qualify for free tuition. So that's just one of many financial aid opportunities. Let's go on to the next slide, please. So before I get into the admissions requirements, I just want to clarify a few terms and how I'm going to use them. So when I talk about freshmen, I'm talking about students who are in high school applying to go directly to a UC or to any four-year school, versus a transfer student is one who goes from high school to a community college typically, and then to a four-year university. And then eligibility means the minimum requirements that you need to meet to be considered for admission as either a freshman or a transfer applicant. So there are very different minimum requirements for freshmen and for transfers. And then selection is the process that the campuses use to decide which students that meet the eligibility requirements we're actually going to admit. So I want to clarify the difference between those before I talk about what those requirements are. So if you are a freshman, if you're in high school applying directly to a four-year university, students very similar to the CSUs need to complete at minimum 15 A through G courses, which you can see here. Now, because so many students apply to the University of California who meet these minimum requirements, it's often recommended that you go above and beyond the minimum to meet the selection criteria. So you can see the requirements at a minimum and also the recommendations on this chart. The minimum GPA is 3.0, but this is only calculated using your 10th and 11th grade years. So 9th and 12th grade can be used to meet the course, the A through G requirements, but not the GPA. If you're not a California resident, the minimum GPA is 3.4. Now, because of COVID-19, the SAT or ACT is not required for students applying this year and next year. It is optional, and it's also not required after that. So check out the UC admissions website for more details on that, but just know that you will not be disadvantaged if you're not able to take either one of those exams. So that's a big change. So once students meet those minimum requirements, we're looking at additional information to decide who we want to admit. Now, this information is going to vary a lot from one UC campus to another. Even though campuses are looking at the same application and the same information, each campus has its own priorities about which students it wants to admit and how many students it can admit. So academic factors, including GPA and A through G courses, are going to be a big factor. Some campuses may choose to use SAT or ACT scores for selection. So even though they're not required, they may still benefit you at some campuses, but UCSB is not going to use them even if you took those exams. And most campuses are not going to use them, but that is a possibility. Extracurricular activities are a big factor, including work experience, maybe babysitting experience, volunteer experience. And we understand that COVID-19 has caused a lot of changes in our lives. So we want to know what you're doing with your time outside of the classroom and outside of school and how you're being productive with that, even if there's been a change in the clubs you were involved in or things like that. And we see a lot of that information conveyed through the personal insight questions. So those are 4 short answer questions on the application, which is how we get to know about you. Ultimately, what we're looking for is achievement within context. So what that means is we want to know about you and your life, where you went to school, how big your family is, and what you've done to achieve above and beyond the minimum requirements within your particular context. So transfer students is very, very different. The transfer requirements are entirely academic, and we're only looking at college level courses now. So high school grades and courses do not impact your eligibility as a transfer student. All transfer students at all the UCs need to complete the 7-course pattern, which is 2 English courses, 1 math course, and 4 general education courses, and a minimum 60 units that are UC transferable. So be aware that SBCC offers some courses that are only transferable to CSU, or that might not be transferable to either CSU or UC. So that's something you'll want to talk to your counselor about, and I'll share resources about. But make sure that you are taking UC transferable courses if you think you want to transfer to a UC. And by the way, all courses that are UC transferable are also CSU transferable. There's normally a limit of how many units you can take pass, no pass, but if you took courses in winter, spring, or summer 2020 that were pass, no pass, that's okay. Those are not subject to that limitation. And then depending on what major you're interested in studying, there may be additional course and unit and GPA requirements that vary from campus to campus and major to major. So a little bit of research is involved when you want to apply to the UC. The minimum GPA is 2.4, and that's in college courses only. And 2.8 for non-residents. But again, most campuses are looking for higher GPAs to actually admit you. And some majors may require higher GPAs. So these are the minimum requirements. If you go to the next slide, please. But just meeting those minimum requirements is not enough to get you admitted. Now we're looking at our transfer selection criteria. So for transfer students, we focus primarily on academic factors. So unlike for freshmen, where we're looking very holistically at academic and non-academic factors, for transfer students, we tend to make decisions at most campuses primarily based on your college courses and GPA. Be aware that we are looking at your overall GPA, which is all of your UC transferable courses, and we might also look at your GPA just in your major preparation courses, depending on your major. Speaking of major preparation, if a course is required for your major, that means you 100% have to complete it before transfer, whereas recommended courses may be completed after transfer. So those will vary by campus and major, which courses are required versus recommended. Completing the math and English requirements from the previous slide early, so in your first year or first couple semesters at SBCC, that can increase your chances of admission. And extracurricular activities and the personal insight questions are not as impactful for transfer students, except for at the most selective campuses like UC Berkeley and UCLA. Those may play a bigger role, but for most campuses, if you meet the minimum academic requirements and you have a strong GPA, that's enough information for us to make an admission decision. And then a quick note about general education. You might have heard of iGETC. That's a general education transfer curriculum offered at SBCC and actually all of the community colleges. Completing iGETC is not required for admission, but it does include those minimum 7 courses that are required, and it might increase your chances of admission at some of the more competitive campuses. So if you're not sure of what major you're interested in or even where you want to transfer, iGETC is a great plan so that you're working on meeting requirements even without knowing your major quite yet. So talk to a counselor either at SBCC or one of the UC campuses for more assistance regarding that, because iGETC is not the best plan for every single student, but it is a great plan for many. And then I want to mention assist.org, which is a really great resource that I use probably every day. This is where you can find out which courses at SBCC are transferable to either the UC campuses or the CSU campuses. You can find out which courses meet iGETC requirements and which courses are required for your major. So just so much information on Assist, and it's updated every year. So I highly recommend becoming familiar with this website if you're thinking about transferring to any UC or CSU. We talked earlier briefly about the tag, so I just want to give you a little bit more information about it. This is a guaranteed admission program to one UC campus. Now it's not offered at all 9 campuses. You can see from the map, it's only offered at UC Davis, Merced, Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara, Riverside, and Irvine, but it's not a binding agreement. So what that means is if you tag to one of these 6 campuses, you can still do the regular UC application with multiple campuses and choose to go wherever you get admitted. But doing the tag means that you are guaranteed to get admitted to at least one of those campuses. And it's only available for California Community College students, CCC students. Now to meet the requirements, that varies based on the campus you tag to and also what your major is. So the GPA requirements range from 2.7 to 3.5, depending on the campus and your major. All right, if you're interested in the tag or even just interested in transferring to a UC, I strongly encourage you to create a transfer admission planner. This is a free online account where you're going to enter your courses and your grades, and it helps you track and plan your progress towards transferring. So it tells you which courses are transferable to the UC, what your UC transferable GPA is, whether you're meeting the 7-course pattern requirements. And if you want to apply for TAG, this is how you do it. You apply through the transfer admission planner. So students here, you might have received an email from me before if you've already created a TAP account. But if not, please go to that URL and create one. That's something that you can do anytime. One more resource I want to mention is the UC Transfer Pathways. So this is a resource guide that tells you which courses to take at SBCC to prepare for your major at multiple UC campuses. So if you have an idea of what major you're interested in, and it's on this this list here, these are the most common or most popular majors across the UC system. If you're interested in one of those majors, but you're not sure which UC campus you want to transfer to, check out the Pathways Guide so you can start taking those courses and then decide later on where you actually want to apply. But that's just another resource for you. And finally, some important dates and deadlines. So the Transfer Admission Planner creates enter your courses and grades. I say as soon as possible because that gets you in our system so we can start emailing you and communicating with you. The TAG application is due September, the year before you transfer. Now, most of the UC campuses only allow applications for the fall term. So if you wanted to transfer in fall of 2022, then in fall of 2021 is when you would submit the TAG application in September. The UC application is due in November, and that opens August. So it opens August 1st, and then you can work on it and submit anytime during the month of November, again, to transfer the following fall. In January, we're going to ask transfer students only. So the TAG and the TAP are just for transfer students. And then the TAU in January is also just transfer students. You're going to update your UC application with your grades from the fall and any changes to your spring coursework. Admission decisions are posted between March and April. So in March is usually when freshman applicants find out that if they're admitted, and April is when transfer students find out. And the SIR deadline, that's your statement of intent to register. So that's when you have to inform the campuses which one you actually want to attend. That deadline actually for freshmen is May 1st, and for transfers is June 1st. And then this contact information is specifically for UCSB. I'm just guessing that many of you might be interested in UC Santa Barbara. So that's our admissions website where you can find all of this information I went over and more. And then if you're a transfer student and you have questions, or if you want to meet on Zoom, that is me, I'm your person. So please email me. I'm happy to answer any questions via email or on Zoom. And then my colleague, Andrea Gallardo, is our freshman lead contact for you. So if you're in high school and you're interested in applying to UCSB as a freshman, please email her. And then you can also follow us on Instagram. UCSB Admissions is our admissions Instagram account, and UCSB Life is actually run by current UCSB students. And with that, I will take a couple questions and hopefully not take up too much time.
Yeah, so we have a couple questions that will go pretty quickly. First one, can you mention again how students can qualify for the middle class scholarship at the UC system?
Yes, great question. All you need to do is submit the UC application and a financial aid application, which is either the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application. And then based on the financial information entered there, you automatically qualify for it. If your family makes less than $80,000 per year, you get the Blue and Gold Scholarship, and less than $120,000 per year is the middle class scholarship. But no additional application besides the financial aid application and the UC application.
Okay, a couple questions for incoming freshmen. I am hearing that some UCs are test blind for 2021. Can you name which ones? Is UCSB test blind?
Yeah, UCSB is going to be test blind, but off the top of my head, I don't know for all the other ones. So I would check with each individual campus. Test blind means that even if you submit a test score, we're not going to use it in the admission decision-making process. Whereas test optional means that if you submit a score, which is not required, it might be used to make an admission decision. So UCSB is going to be test blind, or we're also calling it test free for this fall.
Okay, and then a couple questions regarding transferring. What happens if I pass the unit cap policy?
Yeah, great question. So if all of your units are from community college and or from AP or other test scores, you can still apply if you've had more than 70 units. You're still considered a junior. We limit your units to 70 so that you're still considered a junior. The only time it might be a problem if you have more than 70 units is if those units were earned at a UC campus or another four-year university. So if that's the case, please reach out to me. My email's on the screen and I can assist you, but it does look a little different case by case. So send me an email and I'll give you more specific information.
Okay, what if I am applying with 3 associate degrees that each have different GPAs?
Good question. So an associate's degree is actually not required for transfer admission and not part of the admission decision process. So we're going to calculate your GPA looking at all of your UC transferable courses. So it doesn't matter which major they're related to. Depending on your major and depending on which campus you're applying to, we might also look at your GPA just in major preparation courses for the major that you're applying to at the UC campus. But to calculate your overall GPA, we're going to use all of your UC transferable courses.
And then last question, when do you typically hear about a TAG application?
Yeah, good question. There are 2 campuses, UC Davis and UC Merced, which review your TAG application and then let you know before you submit your UC application in November, whether your TAG has been approved or not. But the other 4 campuses, we don't pre-evaluate the TAG. So you submit the TAG application, then you submit the UC application, and you find out same time as everyone else in April if you've been admitted. Knowing that if you meet all the requirements for TAG, you are 100% guaranteed to be admitted to that campus, to that major. That being said, if any of you are interested in applying for TAG at UCSB, I am happy to personally review your TAG applications. So if you've already applied for this year or you're planning to apply next year, all you need to do is email me and I can look at your TAG application and give you feedback.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Idra, for presenting. So now, on behalf of the private and independent schools, we have Ms. Mesma Baini, Director of Admissions, and Anna Kwong, Chair, MBA Program from Antioch University.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much. My name is Mesma Baini, as mentioned, and I'm joined by Anna Kwong, who's the chair of our MBA program, as well as director of our bachelor's program. I am so thrilled to be here tonight to give you guys this information, that you're able to get information from such great institutions throughout the state of California. I hope that by the end of this session that you have the information that you need to really make the best choice for you. Each of you are very different, have different needs, different desires, so hopefully you find the best school. And you're here and you've changed your schedule today to be here to get the information that you need. So let me start by just giving you a little bit of a background about Antioch University. We're a really unique and trailblazing institution. We're very old. We opened our doors in 1852, making us just over 160 years old in Ohio. Our first president was actually an abolitionist who became known as the father of public education. We were the first college in the country to hire a female faculty member, and over 100 years before the civil rights laws made it a requirement, we were actively recruiting and admitting Black students. We are so enormously proud of our history and of being in the forefront of activism and social justice. Our mission is really based on social, environmental, and economic justice. And that's just not something that's written in on a plaque somewhere in our buildings. It really is literally part of our blood that runs through our academic veins. So every single class that's taught on our campuses, it's that social, economic, and environmental justice is woven throughout the classes that we teach. So a lot of times I hear students ask, why Antioch? Why would I even consider Antioch? I'm not familiar with Antioch. And there's so many reasons, but let me list just a few of them. One of them would be experiential learning. And basically what that means is that we value what you have done. A lot of our students come from so many different walks, and we have one of the most liberal transfer policies that I've ever seen, honestly, and that's been after almost 17 years in higher education. We value what you've done inside and outside of the classes. So if you have what we call life experience outside of the classes, you've worked in a certain field for certain years, you have unique experiences that you can bring into the classroom experience. We help you figure out how to get that translated into college credits. Also, our admissions process is holistic. What that means is it's a simple process. We don't have any specific prerequisites at many schools. They cherry pick through the classes that you've taken a lot of time and energy to complete and get grades in. We don't have any specific prerequisites. So if you haven't finished your gen eds, that's okay. If you have more than enough gen eds, that's okay. We also don't have any stated minimum GPA. So sometimes students come in, they have a story, something happened, whether it's raising a family, transferring, moving, death in family, so many things affect our GPA, and it's hard to put that on paper. So we don't require a certain GPA to get admitted. Also, there's no specific testing that you need to get into our university. So a really holistic approach to admissions. We really want to see who you are, what your story is, and what your goals are. Also, we categorize our learning as collaborative learning, meaning that it's going to be something different than something you've probably ever experienced in your classroom settings, in that we don't have lectures, we have discussions. Students really talk in our classes, and we make sure that we invoke that voice in them so that they can talk and tell us about things and what they understand and how they're learning. We don't give tests, which is different than what most students are used to. Normally you're used to just cramming in information, getting it all out on paper and say, oh, I'm done. But did you really learn something? Is the information something that's going to translate into something practical that you're going to use in your field and whatever you're doing after you graduate? We assessed our students on what we call narrative evaluation. So the professors write about what you've demonstrated in your classroom experiences and in your papers that you've submitted. So those are, I think, some of the top reasons why students look at Antioch University, or why they should consider Antioch University. As we move into the next slide, let me tell you a little bit about our campus here in Santa Barbara. There are a few pictures there that you can definitely look at, but instead of me trying to tell you, why don't you just take a look at this short video, which I think does a much better job than I can.
Earning my Bachelor of Arts degree at Antioch University, Santa Barbara is very rewarding. Antioch's BA program gives me the unique opportunity to guide my own education and advocate for myself.
My name is Jen Barron.
I'm making a difference by empowering young women in our community.
I'm Richard Samda, and I'm a student at Antioch University. I'm making a difference by creating a confident space for people to be able to express themselves and just being there to listen. These things have been done to me through Antioch, and they've made a big difference in my life.
My classes are small and engaging with personalized attention from faculty, who often take us off campus for direct experiences in our field.
My name is Elizabeth, and I'm majoring in communication media. I am making a difference by telling meaningful stories. I chose video as a medium because it is a way to entertain and educate at the same time.
Antioch students are making a difference.
My name is Isaac Michael Alvedania. I'm making a difference by providing readjustment counseling to our community's war veterans.
My vision?
My vision?
My vision?
My vision
is to be the difference.
So hopefully that gave you just a little bit of a view of what Antioch Santa Barbara is. Even though we've been in I keep on saying Seattle, I'm so sorry. Even though we've been in Santa Barbara for over 40 years, we also have campuses in Seattle, Los Angeles, New Hampshire, and also a very large online community. We are a not-for-profit research university that's been regionally accredited since 1927. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about some of our programs that we offer. On the left of the screen, as you can see, there's some highlights about our classes and about the university. But we offer 6 bachelor's degrees for students who have at least completed at least a year of undergraduate studies somewhere else. So this is perfect for transfer students, traditional transfer students, students who have been out of college for some time and are coming back to college, or maybe have transferred a lot in the past, as well as high school students who have done at least a year of college whilst they were in high school. So it's a place where you can complete your bachelor's, not really start your bachelor's. Our liberal studies program offers several tracks ranging from business to environmental science, psychology, and communication media. This is really the program that allows you to craft your degree. If you don't specifically have one thing that you want to focus on, you might have a few different interests and want us to craft a degree for you. So our liberal studies can either put you in a specific track or give you some options there. I really wanted to note our applied studies degrees, and those were crafted for students who are coming out of a background of technical or trade degrees. Sometimes it's hard to transfer those credits to other traditional universities. So this was created to ensure that you can get your bachelor's also without losing credits or going backwards. So regardless of your previous education, we'll meet you where you are. If we continue on, we're going to look a little bit at an agreement that we have specifically with Santa Barbara City College, and this is our 3+1 agreement. Essentially what that means is that all of the courses that you're taking at SBCC are transferable. You won't leave any on the table transferring to Antioch Santa Barbara. You can take 90 credits at SBCC and know that they're all going to transfer in, and you only need to complete 45 more to get your bachelor's degree. Some students finish up their 90 credits before they come over to Antioch, or others do them concurrently whilst at Antioch so that they can finish up in a year and transfer and have their degree. It's just pretty much simple. A lot of our students are considering our graduate programs. We have about 55% of our students are graduate students with degrees ranging from master's to PhD level degrees. And we're really well known for our master's degree. So a lot of students really want to get to that next step very quickly. A lot of other students are looking to finish their degree so they can advance in their field or move into a graduate program. So it's really nice to know that you can do 1 year at a traditional 4-year college and have that degree in your hand. The next thing a lot of students talk about, well, it's a private school. How am I going to pay for a private school? And that's a great question, obviously, but we've made sure that we do the best to help our students to make it affordable, as affordable as possible. So we have a financial aid department that, of course, is going to help you with the process. However, we have scholarships that are crafted to really help students afford our university. So some of them are based on merit, meaning that you've earned them based on your academic performance at previous institutions. Other times it's based on need. A lot of times students just need a little bit to help them pay for tuition. Some of them are also based on whether you are a veteran student with military background, or you have a parent who is in the military. So there are different scholarships that we offer. We also have a Phi Theta Kappa, which is geared for students who are members of that organization. And that gives a $6,000 scholarship. We're proud to be Phi Theta Kappa members and to have been awarded an honor award through that organization because of our ease of transferring and helping students through the process. So there's definitely a lot of aid and a lot of assistance that our team will give you in that process. I want to leave a few minutes for Anna to speak, and so you can also hear her voice as the director of the VA program.
Hello, I'm Anna Kwong. Thank you, Mensma. I'm the chair of the MBA and the director of the BA program. At Antioch, the class is small and we seek to provide each student with a more flexible and unique education. We also try to work and connect you with the community for future employment or graduate school. Also, one thing to mention is the Antioch campus is actually less than 2 miles from Santa Barbara City College. So it is easy to enroll at both SBCC and Antioch Santa Barbara concurrently. Therefore, students can start working progress towards your bachelor degree while attending SBCC. We have a rolling admission system. Whenever you're ready, you can contact me and we can talk with you. If you're looking for something more unusual, something more creative, something more customized for your needs, I encourage that you connect with us and we can go through the various options with you. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to get in contact with us, you can just look at antioch.edu and click on the Santa Barbara link. There you'll find some of our information sessions that are planned for the upcoming months, as well as all of our contact information. Again, I wish you all the best as you continue your academic journey, and we hope to connect with you a little bit more.
No questions at this time.
Perfect. All right, so if there are no questions for Mesma right now, Mesma, thank you so much for presenting. Same thing to you, Anna. We'll move on to our next slide. So now if you do have any questions later on, go ahead and we're gonna have time to answer for all the panelists to be on. So just hold on to your questions. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to move on to a student panel of Q&A. So we selected a couple students based on their experience as a freshman to a four-year institution, or as local SBCC students who are transferring to four-year institutions. So these are the students. How this is gonna go is I'm gonna have the students introduce themselves and answer a few set of questions. Now, after we listen to them, we are going to open up the Q&A for any of you to ask them any questions, and then we'll go to the whole process. And then student panelists, these are going to be the questions. So we'll start in order, and I'll tell you which order you will be going into. So the first thing that I ask from you is to introduce yourself. So state your name, where you are from, what's your current school and major, and if you're a freshman or a transfer student. And we're going to start with Anissa, and then we're going to have Chrissy go after.
Hi everyone, I am Anissa. I am from Santa Barbara, born and raised. I am a sophomore at Santa Barbara City College. I am a psychology major, and I am planning on transferring fall of 2021.
It's awesome. You. Hi, my name is Chrissy. I am a junior at Cal State Fullerton. I'm a transfer student. I was born here in Santa Barbara, California, and my major at Cal State Fullerton is kinesiology with a concentration in strength conditioning.
Perfect, thank you, Chrissy. Now we'll have Simone and then Tiani go after.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Simone, and I'm a former SBCC alum and UCSB alum. I'm currently in a graduate program at Seattle University up in Washington, and I'm originally from Sonoma, California, so it was definitely nice to go south to SBCC and UCSB for a while. And I'm currently studying to get a degree in marriage and family therapy.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiani. I am from Oceanside, San Diego County. I currently go to UC Berkeley. I am a sociology major, and I actually transferred from Santa Barbara City College.
Thank you so much, Tiani. So now go ahead, Joseph, and then Georgia.
Hi, my name is Joseph Menares. I'm originally from Ojai, California, and the Santa Barbara area. I am currently a transfer student at Stanford University, and I'm majoring in chemical engineering.
Hi, I'm Georgia. I'm from Santa Barbara, and right now I go to Cal Poly. I'm a second year, and my major is environmental management and protection.
Thank you, Georgia. So now go ahead, David, and last Kimberly.
Hey guys. My name is David. I'm a junior right now at UCLA. I'm from Santa Barbara. I'm majoring in math of computation, kind of a mix between math and computer science. And I came into UCLA as a freshman, but yeah, I'm a junior now.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Casada Carrillo. I am from Santa Barbara, born and raised, and I am currently a sophomore at Westmont College, where I plan to major in communications with a minor in writing.
Perfect, thank you, Kimberly. Now a question for all of you. What was your experience transitioning from high school to college? And once again, we'll start with Anissa.
I personally had a really easy time transitioning from high school to college, especially at the City College. They really personalize it for you. Every professor I've had, my counselors have been amazing. they really want you to succeed. They really try. So I had a really, really easy time.
With my experience transitioning from high school to Santa Barbara City College, it was pretty seamless. I did find myself having to navigate the system a lot myself, my first couple years there, just because I am a first generation student. But overall, with all the services that SBCC offers and the resources, it was very seamless and very enjoyable.
Great, thank you. Next we have Simone and then Tiani.
I think at first any transition is hard. I moved to a whole new city, a whole new area where I didn't know anybody. And so I loved that SBCC had a lot of ways to connect students together based on clubs and groups. So that part really helped me to meet new people and create friend groups and study groups, which is something that I think is very cherished, especially now in this kind of setting. The fact that they're still doing that, even as I work for the college, it's really cool to see that even in a time when we're virtual, they're still pushing to offer connectivity and ways for students to meet each other.
Academically, I actually think I did pretty well when I first arrived at SBCC. Again, I'm from San Diego, so I didn't know anybody. It was definitely a new environment for me. I think that what really helped me in my overall experience at SBCC was finding community. I found community through the EOPS program, through the Transfer Center and the TAP program, and then also my enrollment services family.
Great, thank you, Tiani. So go ahead, Joseph, and then Georgia.
So at the end of high school, I got a major case of senioritis for sure. I was rather unsure of what I wanted to do, and I didn't end up applying to any universities. So when I transferred to SBCC, I was a bit directionless. But I was luckily able to very quickly find a group of people I identified with in the clubs on campus, and find some great faculty that really helped engage my interest. And then I really feel like I was able to flourish and explore the sciences that I was interested in, have great conversations with my professors. So I definitely feel like it was a very helpful experience that helped me grow when I transferred to SBCC.
My transition to Cal Poly was pretty smooth. I think the hardest part for me was just realizing how much more work I had to put in for school outside of class, because I feel like in high school, I did a lot of my work at school, but for college, you really have to learn how to set aside time to like study and do projects and all that good stuff. So that was the hardest transition for me fall quarter. But other than that, it was pretty smooth and it was welcoming and it was a good time.
Thank you for sharing. All right, David and Kimberly.
Hey, yeah, so my transition into college was a little bit sudden. UCLA is on the quarter system, so it's a little bit faster than semester schools, although you take less classes. And so that definitely hit me like a brick wall, you know, especially being surrounded by so many other smart students. But that was also what helped me, you know, feel at home and feel like I could thrive in this environment because everyone else was going through what I was going through. So it's definitely a challenge, but UCLA made it very manageable, and I made it manageable by joining clubs and meeting people and basically surrounding myself with those people that were in the same boat as me, which made it very fun, very enjoyable, and yeah, overall hard, but good hard. I learned a lot of work-life balance because classes are kind of like, you know, you might have 2 hours of classes and that's your day. And then the rest of your day revolves around planning how your work and fun and life balances around that. And so I learned that right off the bat.
My experience transitioning from high school to college was definitely tough because I was attending a public high school and now I'm currently in a private college. And so they have very different academic standards and they challenged me academically, but I also felt like I had the right mindset and the right drive to kind of overcome like any negative feelings or any lack of motivation that may come from this transition. I did have my moments where I would question whether or not attending a private college was the best decision, but I was able to realize what my main goal was and basically what I wanted at the end of my 4 years, and that kind of allowed me to be honest with myself about any like negative feelings and be able to work something positive out of it.
Perfect. Thank you all for sharing your experiences as you all transition from high school to college. Now, there are many students listening to us right now. What would you have wanted to know prior to applying to college? And same thing, we'll take it in the same order.
So I'd first like to start off by just telling all the students out there to just take a deep breath. Everything will be okay. I know you guys are stressed out right now. I totally understand, but don't worry about college applications. Like, you have so much time. Please don't worry and just really focus on school right now. I also want to mention that it's not where you start, it's where you end. For example, when you get jobs, they're not going to say, oh, what college did you start at? They're going to say, where did you get your degree from? That's what matters. So I really think that the City College is a great option. And I was a little nervous about the City College at first because, at least from what I've been told from a young age, there's always been a very large stigma as to a city college being a city college. It's not a university. So I just want you guys to be able to throw that out of the window because it's really not true. The City College is a really great option. And as a Promise student, I can say it's free. It's a really smart decision because you get 2 years of free education. So it really helps financially. So that's what I wish I knew.
So one thing I wish I knew before applying to college would definitely be where that it does not matter that you start at a community college. In high school, I definitely felt that there was like a stigma with starting with community college, but I can honestly say that starting my journey at SBCC was one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's really helped me network. It's introduced a lot of beneficial programs such as TAP, DSPS, the Equity Center that have taught me skills and lessons that I now use at Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, I have to agree with what Anissa and Chrissy both expressed. I think there's still a lot of stigma around starting at a city college, but similar to them, my whole undergrad education was free. My time at UCSB was free. And that was very helpful when I started looking at graduate programs because I knew I wanted to look for other schools that could support me with my education financially, since I was a first-gen independent student paying for everything on my own. And I think also just having a moment to ask people around you who might be in college any thoughtful questions. I had made friends with people at UCSB and I asked things like, what would you want to know or what would you want me to prepare for? Things like the fact that a lot of professors have their books in libraries. So if you don't want to pay for textbooks, they might have them accessible to you if you're willing to go to a library. Things like that I would never have known if I hadn't taken the time to ask people that I had met that were further along in their journey. So I'd say keep some thoughtful questions in your mind when you're applying. Maybe look for their Facebook page, maybe look for the other ways that students connect at that particular college and kind of pick their brains about things that you're curious about, and that'll take your education and your time there so much further than it could have been just trying to do it on your own.
Yeah, I think that there's actually two things that came to me. The first is that there is no one linear path to getting to the four-year university. I know that a lot of times, kind of with this common theme of stigma, it can be a little bit daunting to think, and when you start the process of going to the community college, but just try to let that go and not really worry about what other people are thinking, and be proud that you are here and you're pursuing this route. And then that leads me to my second thing, which is, as funny as it sounds to just worry about yourself, don't really worry about what other people are doing, what they're not doing. I think that everybody's story is unique, their paths are different and unique to themselves. So just focus on yourself. Don't be afraid to get involved in whatever it is you want to be involved in, and find things that fuel your passions.
Yeah, a lot of people have said the things that I would have said, and I totally agree with what with the sentiment. And I think that the one thing that I would say is that don't be afraid to take your time and explore your own interests, especially if you're going to be going to a city college, because a city college can really afford you that time and afford you that leeway without railroading you to one track. I mean, like, when I left high school, I thought that I hated math. And now I'm an engineer, you know, and I actually count classes like linear algebra as some of my favorite. I actually genuinely enjoyed it. So don't be afraid to take your time, explore the myriad of possibilities in front of you, and find what you're passionate for.
So at Cal Poly, you have to declare your major when you apply. So before I applied, I wish that I had looked more into what my major actually consisted of. Like, I feel like I based my decision a lot on just the vibe of the school that I was picking and things that didn't matter as much as the actual classes that I would be taking and the electives I could take within my major, because it turned out that I chose a major that I didn't really like. I just kind of picked it based off of the name. So I would say, like, focus on what you're going to be doing academically and actually look at each class that you're going to have to take, so you know where your education is going to lead you.
Hey guys, so what I would say is that one thing I'm noting in college now is that the hype and excitement around a college's acceptance rate completely dissolves once you're in college. What sticks with you is the academic experiences, the connections you make between people. I feel like I had so much hype around the acceptance rate and, oh, this is that, and none of that really matters. It doesn't really feel like it matters at all when you're in college. So really just focus your decision on your passions and interests. And I really want to echo what Georgia said, which is base your decisions around your major, because even if you don't know what that might be, for example, at UCLA, say you wanted to go into marketing, there's no like marketing major at UCLA. And although you might think it's a huge school and they have a major for everything, that's actually not necessarily the case. You might major in something like communications or something similar, but definitely do research at the degree level. I'm super happy that the math and computer science departments are amazing at UCLA, and I'm super happy with that. But make sure that you're interested and would be actually loving studying what you want to study at a school where you do have to come in with a major, and you know, could totally change your major. All of my friends have changed their majors a bunch of times, but just know that you're going to be interacting with a school within the context of a major. So even if you don't know, I mean, flip a coin or something, choose a major and go with it. And then if you don't like it, totally down to change, but just, I'd say do research at that degree level.
Prior to applying to college, I wish I would have known more about the admissions process and to not take rejections too personally. I remember getting really disappointed when I would get rejections, and this would lead to me questioning if I was good enough and if any schools would accept me. But then I was able to realize that the applications only see a tiny piece of who you are, and just knowing that you're applying to these schools and expressing your interest in the institution is already a really big deal.
Thank you all for sharing. Those are very wonderful thoughts. So the next question is somewhat similar to what I just asked, but do you all have any tips that you would like to pass on to the students?
I actually have quite a few tips, especially if you are at the City College currently or thinking about it or intending to go. I would really, really recommend that you take summer classes. I know it's your summer and you don't want to, but trust me, it is so worth it. I mean, the classes are in a span of maybe 6 weeks, so you finish, credits in 6 weeks and then you're done. And there's 2 different summer sessions that you can do, so it's really easy. I also recommend that you take advantage of all the programs, whether it's study abroad or anything that Christy mentioned earlier. I would really, really recommend them. It's definitely worth your time.
So I also have a few tips as well for people who are looking to go to SBCC or a four-year institution. My first tip would be that get involved on campus. It doesn't matter if it's with a club or a program. For me personally, getting involved in the Transfer Achievement Program was one of the best things I've ever done. I really credit them for my transition from a community college to a four-year university. I really feel that they prepared me and they really helped me along the process, which I felt was, which I'm very appreciative for because I am a first generation student, so I wouldn't have known where to start on my own. I also recommend looking into resources. I utilize DSPS at Santa Barbara City College, and at Cal State Fullerton, I utilize their program too, which is called DSS. And they've really helped me with my educational journey. They help me get the accommodations that I need. And again, they're very helpful. If anyone is looking to transfer to a four-year university from Santa Barbara City College, I definitely would recommend looking at programs that are similar to ones that you like at SBCC or whatever community college you go to. I found a program similar to TAP, Transfer Achievement Program, at Cal State Fullerton. The only difference is instead of preparing us to go on to a four-year university, they help us go on to a graduate program or like a master's degree program or PhD program. I also would recommend going to office hours, whether you're in community college or four-year university. They are so helpful, and sometimes we're afraid to ask for help, but you get a lot of helpful insight by going, and you create those like networks with your professors that way. And lastly, if I have one more piece of advice, it would be to don't feel like you have to do this all alone. Reach out for help if you need it. There's always someone there to help you.
Yeah, I'd echo everything everyone else has said so far. I think I'd add apply to as many scholarships as you possibly can. Even if you really don't feel like you might get it, I applied to so many different scholarships, and that's how I got my undergrad paid for, and I'm now on a 70% scholarship at a master's level, which is like not something that happens. But if you look for the money out there, it's there, and the support is there as well. I echo definitely taking advantage of all of the student services. I personally utilize the Transfer Center and the Transfer Center at UCSB to make friends and connect and find other resources throughout my time in undergrad. And I also want to recommend working on campus if that's something that you're interested in. I've worked for SBCC now for 8 years, and I've well past graduated since then. But the community that they have there and the connections you make academically and just in your professional life can last a lifetime if you nurture and grow them. So I definitely recommend finding a campus work, and that will also give you access to resources you might not have found. Like for example, the virtual marketing environment wasn't as big when I was at SBCC, so it was more word of mouth, hearing from my boss and things like that. So it's definitely progressed greatly as of now. And also just connecting in any way you can to other students. Making study groups is really helpful. If you're someone who prefers to like work alone, like me, I had to kind of push myself to do study groups, but it definitely is a benefit in the long run.
I think that the biggest tip I would give you all is to just remember that it's okay to fail. I think that when you are going to the university straight from high school, or whether you're transferring, no matter what path you take, I think that there's a lot of pressure. I know myself, I felt this pressure to have this beautiful transcript with straight A's, an application that reflected all these extracurricular activities, you know, top student. And I think that it's important to know that you're human and it's okay to fail. And just know that, I mean, I transferred to UC Berkeley. So when I was doing the UC application, I think that I wish I would have also known that, you know, they do take a holistic review. So just whatever you're struggling with, if there's something that you wanted to highlight a little more about yourself, about your transcript, what you've been struggling with, definitely utilize that platform. And then the last tip that I would have for you all is to not be afraid to push the system a little bit and question it. I think that there's a lot of these doors that are shut to us, and that we, especially as a first-gen student, I know that I was afraid to knock on and ask questions, but don't be afraid to do that. Utilize all your resources, ask questions when you have them. You just never know what the answer might be.
Yeah, so sort of going off of one of Tiani's points, I think that it's important for you to recognize your humanity and recognize your limits to some degree. Like, always be ready to push past your limits, but don't set yourself up to fail. Like, for example, don't take like 20 units of ridiculously hardcore STEM courses unless you really think that you can handle it, you know? Because like you really need to, like, this experience is for you and you want to get the best out of it. And if you put yourself in a situation where you're just struggling to keep your head above water, then you're not going to get the best out of it, you know? I was at SBCC for 6 years because I spent my time exploring majors and taking courses at a reasonable rate. And now I'm at Stanford. So just take your time, make sure you're getting the most out of it, make sure you're growing as best as you can, and things will fall into place later, right? Nobody cares how long you took to get your degree. They just care that you got it and that you know what you're talking about and you can do what you say you can do. Also on that note, just I think very helpful to talk a lot to my professors and like inside or outside of office hours, and talk to them about more than just the material, just about life, about their careers, about everything. Because I find that a mentor, like finding a mentor, can be very helpful in helping you find your direction and helping you have just more of a feeling of stability and belonging. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, my biggest thing would be make the effort to have relationships with your professors, because they're going to be the ones that can make those connections for you, or like just you can, like he said, they can be your mentor. And a really good way to do that is going to office hours, because they have so many students, and by you making that, not a lot of people go, and you making that extra step shows a lot to them, and it just shows that you care and you want, like, just for them to know your name and know who you are. is so important. So go to office hours would be my biggest tip.
All right, so for the last question, I answered that it would be helpful to do research at the degree level. And I guess one tip I have now for kind of like choosing a degree, choosing a direction, understanding what do I actually want to study. First is don't follow mob mentality, because a lot of people will be, you know, when I was a freshman, everyone who I talked to who was like math or applied math or like, you know, told me that they all wanted to switch into CS. And there was this mob mentality for everyone saying that they wanted to switch into CS, even though a lot of them actually didn't want to do CS. So don't follow any mob mentality in terms of picking a major. But what you should do is, I know this sounds hard, but like think past your major and think about a potential career that might interest you. You know, like you really got to start thinking about college as a platform for, you know, building your career. So start thinking about some just potential careers that could be interesting to you, and think about what majors would be helpful in terms of getting you there. Because in my opinion, that's like what college is for. It's like a platform for kickstarting your career. And so think about that. Even though it may be hard, I think it might help decide what studies to focus on, knowing where those studies will take you.
So just to kind of echo what everyone else was saying, just being comfortable with your academic journey and know that everyone's journey is different, and to not compare your college journey with your one from high school, because it's completely different. And there isn't just one path, there's multiple options. And so I would also just like to encourage all of you to just get to know your professors, because they genuinely care about students and their success. And I've been very fortunate where in Westmont, my smallest class is 8 people and my biggest has been like a little over 30. So I just get that intimate like relationship with my professors, and I'm able to ask them questions, and they respond and they ensure that I'm successful in their course.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for sharing. We are running a little bit short on time, so we're going to skip the last question. A question did come through the Q&A before we move on to opening it for the whole all the panelists. So this one is more directly to Joseph and Tiani. So for those who transferred from SBCC to Berkeley or Stanford, did you go through the honors program? And if so, how was the overall experience with these more competitive schools?
Yeah, I guess I can, I'll go first. So the, so I did go through the honors program, yes. I was part of the honors program at SBCC. I really enjoyed the honors classes because as part of most of the honors classes, there's an additional discussion where you get to be in a small group with your peers and your professors to really talk in depth about the classes. I mean, obviously, I can't say how much that helps me in my admissions process, since admissions is a little bit of a black box. Yeah, so as for transferring to the institution itself, like I can only speak for Stanford here, and I've heard different things from different universities. But I have felt that Stanford has been very, very welcoming to me. Now, transfers are very rare here. In my transfer class, there was 20 transfers admitted. So that was less than 1% acceptance rate. I know that they're accepting more transfers now that big construction project has been finished. But I've always felt very welcomed here, and I've always felt like Stanford is trying its hardest to help me succeed in any way it can. Like people often ask me about, like, do I have to deal with elitism from like the rich students, or how do I pay for it? And I honestly can say that I haven't ever felt like an elitist attitude. And and as far as the financial aid goes, the financial aid here is fantastic. So yeah, I hope that answers all your questions. and at Stanford, if like basically they don't want you to worry about if you have to pay. So I essentially get a free ride here just because I have a low income. So yeah.
So my experience definitely differs from Joseph's. I was not in the honors program. I am far from like an honors student. I'm PA. I transferred into Berkeley with a 3.2 GPA, and I will shout it from the rooftops. There is no specific student. There is no look or stereotype to what Stanford or Berkeley is looking for. Well, I should only speak for Berkeley. For what Berkeley is looking for, I also work in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions as a student advisor for Berkeley. And when we help students, we always let them know we truly do take a holistic review when we're looking at applications. And yeah, I was not in the honors program. With my experience there, I think that Berkeley itself, we have a huge sense of pride with transfer students. I know that a lot of times when you transfer to other universities, there's the stigma of being a transfer student. At least in my experience, that stigma doesn't really exist. I know when I step onto campus and I share with other students that I'm a transfer student, I always get students saying, oh, I wish I was a transfer student. And then when I'm in office hours, you know, our professors or the graduate student instructors that are assisting throughout classes, they always welcome transfer students and will just blatantly say that they love transfer students. There's a huge transfer community and a huge sense of pride in the transfer process at Cal.
Perfect. Thank you both for sharing. For the presenters and for the audience, we have one more question for the student panelists, and then we'll move on to opening it up to y'all. So I do appreciate y'all hanging out and staying with us. There was one that said, were any of you able to secure scholarships from the institutions you transferred to before you transferred to them? If so, how? Any tips on how to do so? And for this one, let's have maybe 1, 2, 3 of you answer, and let's try to keep the answers brief so we can move on to the next section.
I can start. So I was really fortunate enough to get quite a bit of scholarships from SBCC before I transferred. Again, I'm really fortunate to have won the President's Scholarship, which is a $10,000 scholarship. And I've also won another scholarship from the Transfer Achievement Program, and as well as one from the Biomedical Science Department here at SBCC.
Yeah, I would add, do your research on what the school provides. So like, for example, I went to UCSB to finish my degree, and they have the program that was spoken of earlier, the Blue and Gold program. And so some of it you can kind of navigate, and obviously financial aid usually comes before like tuition is due. So that is kind of like a burden off your shoulders. And then in choosing my graduate program, I just tried to find a school that also believed in supporting students financially and was able to apply for scholarships before I started my cohort path. So I'd just say, look through their financial aid, maybe contact their financial aid. Usually financial aid offices are pretty nice and are willing to take the time to talk to you about any questions that you may have. So even a 15-minute phone call can make a huge difference when you're talking about thousands of dollars. So that's what I would suggest.
In my experience, I actually, like a couple other students, brought over a couple scholarships from SBCC when I transferred to Cal. And then with Cal specifically, when you apply to their college, the university, your application goes directly to their financial aid and scholarships office. So you don't have to worry about filling out any additional applications or searching for those. They use your personal insight question and your financial aid to get a better idea of who you are as a student. So I was able to receive a transfer student scholarship, and then I'm also a Blue and Gold recipient. So I pretty much had a full ride with all those scholarships, I didn't have to worry about any additional funding or searching for scholarships once I got there.
I just want to add a note for private schools. Do remember the Common App, right? So if you're applying for private schools, you're filling out the Common App, and the Common App itself has a portion for financial aid. And get on that quick, because I made the mistake of not getting on it quick, because it was just something I didn't know I had to do. And that can delay your aid, which can be uncomfortable. Now, like institutions like Stanford has been extremely comprehensive financial aid package, and it never hurts to just talk to the financial aid departments at the schools you're interested in about any questions that you might have.
Perfect.
And a lot of private schools also do receive federal funding, so you can get things like the Pell Grant through them.
Perfect. Thank you for adding that, Joseph. So it is past 8 o'clock. So we will take maybe 1 or 2 more questions. If you have any questions for the panelists, go ahead and type them in the Q&A. If you can stick around, wonderful. If not, thank you all for joining. And just a reminder for all of you, you decided to leave. Everything is on our website. So you'll find this recording, you'll find all of our presentation and contact information on the website. If you go to spcc.edu/transfer-connection. So once again, if you do have any questions, go ahead and type in on the Q&A box. And if you can say, that's great. If not, once again, thank you all for joining. So let's go ahead and take 1 or 2 questions. And then Spencer, if I can actually have you read them off as they come in, that would be great.
Sure, no problem. So here's one question for the 4-year representatives. If one does not make it into UCLA, for example, or other competitive schools as a freshman, is there a better chance to be accepted through SBCC transfer?
I can take that if nobody minds. In general, at least for the UCs, the transfer admission rates are much higher at each campus than the freshman admission rates. So for example, at UCLA, the transfer admission rate is around 24% of transfer students get admitted versus the freshman admission rate is less than 15%, although it does vary from major to major. And that's an extreme example for UCLA. But generally, because fewer students are applying as transfers, you do have a somewhat higher chance of admission. Although, as we talked about earlier, the requirements and the selection criteria are very different for freshmen and transfer.
Adria, can I add on to that? For those of you familiar with the Master Plan of Higher Education in California, the priority for a lot of the 4-year universities is California Community College transfer students. So of course they service their continuing students, but in terms of admission and the type of student that they're looking for, the priority actually goes to a California Community College transfer students. So if some of you are thinking about, well, do I go to this 4-year university and then transfer to another 4-year university? Would I get a higher priority than everyone else? It's actually reverse. You actually would be better off going to the California Community College system and then transferring as opposed to going to another 4-year university. So I just want to clear that myth or perception up immediately. But that's why there are some of those great benefits that the California Community College system offers.
Thank you for mentioning that, Dr. Reyes, because that is completely true. You have a much better chance of admission as a transfer student from a community college to a UC than you do from another 4-year or one UC to another. I also just want to briefly mention that all of the UC campuses have a goal to enroll 1 transfer student for every 2 freshmen. So lots more students are transferring than ever before. So it's a good time to be a transfer student.
Okay, we have a couple questions for Santa Barbara City College. The first one, does the free tuition opportunity apply to international students that will be transferring to a UC?
So was that, just to clarify, is that the Santa Barbara City College promise?
That's what I'm assuming, yes.
I think I'll let Christy answer, and then I'll also address that, because that question might have come in when I was talking about the blue and gold opportunity for UC. But Christy, you take it for the promise, and then I'll answer the other way too.
Okay, thank you. So with the Santa Barbara City College Promise, you do have to meet the eligibility requirements of being graduating from a local high school. So if you meet the eligibility requirements from a local high school, and also you have to fill out the CCPG and or FAFSA or DREAM Act. So that's the eligibility. So as long as you meet that, you will be able to take advantage of the Santa Barbara City College Promise.
And in case that question was about the Blue and Gold Opportunity program at the UCs, that is only available for California residents. So it depends on what your residency status is, which is determined by our offices of the registrar. So I don't want to go too much into that, but you have to be a California resident regardless of where your college units were earned.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question for Santa Barbara City College. Does taking more than 4 semesters at Santa Barbara City College affect transfer applications?
I think this also might apply to UC or CSU admissions, but what we tell Santa Barbara City College students is in order to transfer, they need the 60 transferable units. And I think this goes back to the unit cap of what the UCs are able to accept in regards to units. But for UCs and CSU specifically, Santa Barbara City College students need 60 transferable units. How you get that might take you 4 semesters, that might take you 10 semesters, but however you're going to get that, you need those 60 transferable units to transfer to a UC or CSU. Private institutions, it's a little different. They can set their unit requirements differently, so it would you would need to go specifically to the private institution to see what their transfer requirements are. And I don't know if the UCs or CSU want to add anything to that.
It won't, I don't think the time that you spend at the community college is going to affect you and related to your admissions, particularly for the California State University. But I would caution any students in regards to the time that they take at the community college and how it affects them if they are receiving financial aid and in terms of time to degree, because that does affect eventually later on when you transfer how much aid would eventually be available to you, which you then should talk with your financial aid counselor as well to make sure that you are progressing appropriately and not affecting your ability to receive aid.
And I would just echo and agree with all of that. In terms of admissions, the UCs don't typically evaluate you based on how many semesters you've taken to meet the requirements, so long as you are meeting the requirements, with that caveat that Dr. Reyes mentioned about financial aid.
Okay, and then last question. This is for the student panelists. The question is, have any of you panelists participated in study abroad programs?
I guess I'll take that one. I've actually studied abroad through the City College this past February. I went to Florence, Italy, and even though it was cut short due to COVID, I had the most phenomenal time there, and I actually learned a lot. My classes that I took there, they all went towards I Get C, so I was getting incredible units that allow me to transfer. So I really recommend the program to anyone that goes to the City College.
Okay, that's it, Raul.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for sticking around. So we will actually approach the ending 12 minutes ago. So thank you all for sticking around. Just a reminder, like I said earlier, all this information is on our website. So it'll stay there until the end of this academic year, the 2020-2021 academic year. All you have to do is go to sbcc.edu/transfer-connection and you'll be able to see all 3 nights. All the resources are there, so feel free to contact any of the presenters today or any of us. Once again, we thank you all so much for joining and have a wonderful night.